Let's just finish quickly on Rutter, because I know there was a few eyebrows raised when he was signed for all that money, I understand. Brighton said that outside of the goals and assists and maybe the stats that people look at first, they looked at more underlying stats that they do in their recruitment team. And he was outstanding in almost every department in terms of runnings and pressing and press resistant, all of that. And you saw that yesterday, even in the first half where Brighton were under pressure so much because, as we said, Spurs played so well and pressed them so high and so well. There was a few turns from him in that first half where under pressure, somebody right behind him or two guys behind him, and he would still manage to keep the ball.
Yeah.
And I think that's why also you pay that much money. Yeah, you expect the goals and assist tally to improve, but you already know that the core of his game is there to suit your team, like you were saying earlier.
Well, that's why I think it's so important when the analysis and the data comes in, because it's all getting, not brand new, but it's sort of new to people like myself who are pretty old school, and you look at the player and you watch the player over a period of time, and then you have an opinion, your form of opinion, where you go, this is his strength, this is his weaknesses, but all the data's showing. And actually, when you take the goals away and sometimes the assists away, what's he doing for the team? And then that's where the data and the analysis comes in, where you say, well, actually, being a young player, his attributes are going to get better, and his goal stats and his assists and goal involvements, etc., will all get better. So again, Brighton, clever recruitment. They seem to be far away ahead of anyone else in their recruitment over the years. It's amazing how they keep on doing it. But I'm pleased for more the player, because when you get bought for big money and you're under pressure, and people like myself and journalists like yourself, you have an opinion on what you see, but it's nice to see when a player starts hitting form, and especially when you watch young players start to hit form, you think amazing for them, because that's what they're in it for.
Another young player, still young, who had a big move to Tottenham was Brennan Johnson, obviously a year ago, second season now. 6 goals in 6 games in a row where he scores at least 1 goal. Incredible.
Amazing. And how nice is it for a player where he had to get off social media because he was getting abused, which is absolutely awful. But he'd done the right thing. He went, this space is no good for me. I'm going to get off here. I'm going to concentrate on my football. He looks a lot freer. And then again, it's great when you look at a player who's been through that little bit of trouble and he's coming through it. And the goals, because he's a player, isn't he? He's an amazing player. Like he plays right side, but he plays like sort of an old-fashioned sort of right-sided player where he's sort of an inside forward, they used to call it, even well before my day, an inside forward.
You see on his goal yesterday, for example.
Exactly. So he comes off the right-hand side, he smells a high line, and he bends his running arc because he's running behind, and his form is amazing.
Yeah, that finish with his left foot is sweet as well. When you score like that, so he didn't obviously score at the start of the season, then there was the North London derby, and then the abuse came.
Yeah.
When you start scoring like this, is there a feeling that you go into every game?
Every game.
And you just almost know you're going to score, because the one chance you're going to have, you're going to bury it like you did.
It's a feeling that you can't really describe. I remember being at Liverpool, being a really young player, and I got in the side, and I kept on scoring every single week. And I wasn't particularly playing well, but I had a sort of strength. I had a strength where Jan Molby and Ronnie Whelan were the 2 players I was playing with.
Yeah.
And my strength, because I was 19, was I'm going to run, because these guys are better than me at playing, because they're far better and they're far more experienced, so I can provide the legs. And I was scoring like every single week. And I was coming in before a game thinking...
And you could feel it,
Could feel it. I'm going to score today. Whereas when you're going through a bad patch, you think, oh, man, I get a chance to... So it's like it's that sort of that energy that you can't buy, and it just comes to you when you're in good form. You feel confident, you'll make the run. Because Brennan Johnson, maybe 7 games ago, might have thought, well, I'm not really getting too many chances. What I'll do is I'll hang out wide a little bit because I want the ball at my feet. Where now he's thinking, well, I'm going to score, so I'm getting in there.
Yeah.
It's very hard to try and describe, but it's just something that you sort of smell where you think, I'm on fire, I'm going to keep going.
And it's funny because I think with Son being injured now, Richarlison also being out injured, Odegaard being also out injured. So 3, Odegaard that started a couple of games in the Premier League, Son is Son. Okay, Richarlison is a little bit different, but so that's the options that Ange and Spurs don't have anymore.
Yeah.
In the squad right now on the bench. So almost Brennan Johnson had to step up in a way, because Solanke is good and gave the assist. Timo Werner is on the other side. I mean, in that first minute, the cross from Werner on the left, this is a simple cross, right? We agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to be unkind on Timo Werner, but you can't help it because you want him to succeed, Timo Werner, because
he's so defended him before the game. So, he's not a bad player.
Well, no, he's a good player because he's got loads of strengths. The Man U game, he could have scored 3 or 4.
He should have.
And there was one moment in the game where it really summed him up, and he was down the left-hand side with about 10 minutes to go at Old Trafford, and he ran away from a Man United player, and he ran about 50 yards, box to box, and all he had to do was find a Spurs player, and he missed them both and give it to a Man United player. And you're like, I really want you just to do well, and I think everyone does, because you can see it when he gets into interviewed, he's so great to interview.
Yeah,
you know,
he's a lovely kid,
he's
I
so
think.
sincere and he's so
Yeah,
passionate
definitely.
and he's quite quiet, but you can tell he wants to do well and he comes from a sort of good place. But that pass you said is quite an easy one, so that's a technique thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think at his age he's going to find the goals, as in he's not going to turn it to 20 goals a season,
Yeah,
man,
I agree.
because he proves that he can't finish, but he stretches games. So that's why
Yeah.
that's why Spurs are playing him. That's why
Yeah, for
Spurs
sure.
have signed him. But yeah, it should have been a simple pass. That's technique on his left side, and that would have been another one for Brennan Johnson.
You see Johnson's reaction.
He's
He almost
fuming.
can't believe.
And he didn't, and he didn't want to slaughter him neither, did he?
Because he been like, it was 30 seconds in, and he looks at him and like, really? How did you miss?
Because in our day, it would have been one of them. Would have been,
Yeah. It would have been.
Yeah, and it's
It would
like,
have been.
yeah.
Brighton came back, we said.
Yeah.
Maybe the lack of leadership that we saw in that second half from a Spurs point of view, where we were discussing it, preparing for the show. Okay, there's Ange on one side. I think we agree on the lack of plan B or
yeah.
C or D,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
letter
yeah.
you want to put after A. When A works great and they create chaos in the opposition's team and they go and score, lovely. But if that doesn't work, or if they are under pressure and on the back foot, then they've got no reaction.
Got no reaction.
He needs to sort that out. On the other hand, Brighton seems to have Danny Welbeck as a leader. Even when things were not going well, he was still the one going and chasing ball and encouraging everybody. He was very good in that second half again.
Yeah, he was very good. He got interviewed after the game at Premier League and Paul Scholes and Tim Sherwood. Glenn Murray interviewed him and they said, what's happened to you, like in terms of like you're staying away from injuries? And he gave a great interview. He was very honest. He said, I think when I was at Man United, he didn't sort of say this, but I sort of read between the lines. And I've been there myself at Liverpool, where you're surrounded by sort of really good players, but the culture's not great because you're just a young boy and you get sucked in. And I think Danny Welbeck, and he said some of it I couldn't help. I got really bad injuries. Sort of legislate for. They weren't muscular, there were sort of bad injuries from knocks. And I think he sort of was alluding to when he was young, he sort of led his life a little bit different to how he's living now. And that is experience, Jules. You get a little bit more wiser. It's wisdom. And it happens to players when you get older, like Danny Welbeck is now. He's now looking after his body. He's probably eating the right food. He's probably training a little bit better. As he's into his 30s now, he might not be training so hard. He might have the odd day off. It might be swimming, might be cardio, might be weight. So everything that he's doing at the moment is the best for him. And you sort of, he'll think it in 4 or 5 years' time when he retires. And I always think it. I wonder what you could have been when you were younger.
Yeah.
But you can't be because you can't get out of that.
Yeah,
and that's the life that we all make a million mistakes when you're young. But it's great to see him now, experienced player, loads of wisdom, playing well.
I didn't expect him to have that great of the season, really, when you think about it. Whether it's as a second striker with Rutter or somebody else, as a lone striker himself. With Joao Pedro, with Evan Ferguson at some point, he's going to come back as well. They will have a lot of options. Just to finish on the Brighton Spurs game, Spurs are 9th in the table. This is their worst start in the Premier League season for 16 years now. How do you see the next few weeks coming, and how do you think this season is coming?
Well,
does Ange need to change something to get to top 4, for example, or win something?
Well, I think the damning stat from the weekend is when they've been 2-0 up Spurs, not just under Ange, they've given it away 10 times.
Yeah.
So that's where this sort of Spursy tag sort of comes from, which it is what it is. Ange has to fix it. He has to fix it for sure. He'll also be pulling, I think, 1 or 2 experienced players into a meeting and saying, listen, I can give you all the instructions, but when the game's going against you, can you fix it on the pitch? That's what we term leaders, right? Who's going to sit in front of the back 4? Are you going to pull your fullbacks in a little bit tighter? So that needs to come from Ange in terms of the setup in a game, and maybe he needs to get across to the players when we are 2-0 up, or when we are 1-0 up or 3-0 up or 3-1, whatever the scoreline is, you need to recognise where you're at in the game. And you need to recognise when a team's coming on strong and they're putting you under pressure, what do you do? How do you fix it? I can try and fix it, and he should, but it's a little bit on you. But my take is still a little bit positive, because you go from the Man United game, you go from the Man United game, where they were outstanding, into this game. And I honestly think, Jules, this is going to be Spurs under Ange. I think they're going to win 4-3, and I think they're going to lose 4-3. But it's better than Conte, and it's better than Mourinho. So if you're a Tottenham fan and you're paying your money, yes, you're hugely disappointed against Brighton. But you ask one Spurs fan after the Man United game, do you think Ange is doing a good job? Everyone would have said absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And I just don't think it needs much to make sure that the roller coaster at times just stop and that they stay on top, for example, because I think they've got enough talent and quality in their squad to be able to just tweak things slightly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he helps himself. Yesterday before the game, I don't know if you saw, but he was asked, this is going to be it looks like it's going to be a very open game.
Yeah.
What do you do to control it a bit more? And he
Yeah.
said, well, no, we don't control it. We just let it open, be entertaining, and hope for the result. Well, no, Ange, this is not how it works here.
It's not. But at the same time, the contradiction to that is it was very boring under Jose.
No, okay.
And Conte
Done.
was very boring. I get it.
True,
I
but
get
then
the
you
argument.
2-0 up, and
I
then
know.
you lose 3-2, and
I know. No. I'm totally with you. I'm just sort of half thinking, what do you want as a Spurs fan? You want the perfect
no,
world.
true.
You want your football with a little bit of Jose and a little bit of Conte.
maybe
That's
a bit of balance, yeah.
exactly balance. That's
And
the
for
key.
Brighton and Hurtler,
Oh, I mean, what are they?
they've played already. They've played
Six in the league.
Arsenal, they've played Manchester
Chelsea.
United, they've played Chelsea, they've played Spurs now.
Doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah, carry on. I mean, he's doing a fantastic job. As we said before, he's very blessed, Hurtler, that he's got experience. He's got the likes of Danny Welbeck and James Milner, Veltman, lots of players that he can rely, Dunk that he can rely on. So I think he's doing a great job. 31, having sixth in the Premier League.
know.
Amazing.